That gets me where I want to go. So that's trademarks and domain names. Trademarks, unless you become super famous, and there are trademarks that are so famous that they have a special level of protection, at least in the United States. Every law is different around the world. But some of those marks are so famous that you really can't use that trademark for anything else, right? So, for example, I'm trying to think of one that's just so famous. If I, for example, opened a sandwich shop called Home Depot, right? They're going to win, right?
Yeah.
And so that's fame. Hey, Home Depot. I'm no.
Are you telling
No,
them
no.
they should have a sandwich shop from
No,
my
no.
call?
Sponsor Humanable. Yeah, no. No, you're gonna have to edit all this out, right? No, but the
It would be
but the
kinda
point is,
funny.
like, but that's fame, right? That's fame. You keep it if it works.
It's funny.
No, it's meant to be.
Yes, I love it.
So you keep it. So that's an example of fame, and so they have protection called dilution. You can't dilute their mark. Most trademarks, however, are the subject of infringement defenses. So, for example, I could not use Home Depot to put out a brand of ladder, for example, right? Because Home Depot sells ladders. That's in their goods and services. That's part of what they have protection for. Trademarks are tied to the goods and services that they cover. They're not willy-nilly, and they're also territorial. So you may have a trademark registration for one mark in the United States, but somebody else could have that same trademark registration in Zimbabwe, and it's not a guarantee that your U.S. rights would follow you to Zimbabwe. So 200 some plus countries all have their own trademark registration process. I want to go back. I didn't answer a question. You said, should I register my copyright? The answer is it's very hard to get into courts unless you have a trademark registration. So, and it's very inexpensive. So yes, you should. And you also could lose some rights in terms of damages and things like that. So if you make something like this podcast, you should register it with the Copyright Office. It's very simple. Doesn't cost a lot of money. It's something that I think most people could figure out, right? Trademarks, on the other hand, a little more complex. There's searching protocols to find out what else may be out there, because the last thing you want to do is file a trademark registration for something only to find out that somebody else already has that. They're informed by the trademark office, and then they send you a nasty gram and tell you to stop, right? So, so trademarks are a little more complex, but trademarks have to do with the source origin of goods and services, right? Humanable is a very specific kind of trademark called a certification mark. It's kind of like Underwriter's Lab. It is something that we will allow to be put onto product after we have certified it as fully human, as opposed to us using Humanable to certify our own music, right? So it's music of others. So that's trademarks, copyrights. Now, I used to say we don't really need to talk about patents, but we kind of do. Patents protect inventions, right? They don't protect ideas. By the way, none of these things protect ideas. Ideas are not protectable. Art forms, before you put them into a fixed medium, is just an idea, not protectable. Trademarks are tied in the real world to goods and services and tied to a geographic location where you get rights either through common law use, unregistered use in the United States, Britain, Canada, the common law countries, the places where Britain used to rule before Britain quit, being an empire, and we can leave it there. And that's a different podcast for a different day.
Yeah.
But in any event, so that's common law rights, and you can have some rights. They're not as good as registration rights, but they're there. But they're strong. You can assert them, but better to have a registration. But in any event, they're tied to that particular goods and services and tied to a registration. So that, again, not an idea. Inventions, not an idea. If you think of it and you think, oh, that'd be great. My dad, who will never see this podcast, claims he invented the microwave in 1960 something. He worked for the Air Force and fixed radars and things, and he invented the microwave in his head. Sadly, he did not invent it in the real world, or else I would be a zillionaire, and that would be amazing, right?